Hi everyone, welcome to the Quantum Bridge again with myself and Gary, and we've got Casper with us, and Kat as well today has joined us.
I love that.
Yeah, which is always good.
Nice to see you.
Yes, likewise. I think this could be a bit of a classic, this one, Casper. So I will pass over to you to introduce our guest for today.
I will. So from BB and from me and from Gary, Claudio, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Casper and Gary. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So Claudio is a long-term friend of mine now. I'm very lucky to say that. And he's somebody that I've wanted to join us for some time as well, mainly because he's a guy out there who followed his passion, and his passion became his career. And I think a lot of us at the moment are really keen on the idea of revisiting those things that as children and as young adults we wanted to do. And maybe for many of us, those things fell away a bit, or we couldn't follow those for some reason. So Claudio, we give the audience a quick introduction to yourself, to your background in Italy first, and really to what took you towards your passion of music, and in your particular case, of course, classical music.
Yes, I mean, Casper, you have said it all already. I consider myself a lucky one, lucky because I have the opportunity and the pleasure to do in life what I love, which is music. So I started studying music in Italy, where I studied piano, and then moving on with composition and conducting. And then 9 years ago, I had the incredible opportunity to relocate here in the UK, where my career took off, basically, as a conductor. And yeah, because in Italy, it was mainly as a pianist and choral conductor. Then when I moved to the UK, my career moved from the choral conductor to the orchestra conducting. So yes, I have the luxury of waking up every morning and happy to go to work doing something that I love doing.
And just to be clear to people as well, that not only did your childhood and young adult years have all of this learning around music, and I think we should go into that a bit, because it was not easy. We have people coming on who have studied, for example, Kung Fu for years and years, or the martial arts. And I sort of equate your musical journey very much to like a martial arts journey of sort of being a novice, then getting to that intermediate level, and then moving towards that level of mastery, which is this is the ultimate, I suppose, this continual surge and movement towards something you can never maybe quite get there, despite the fact that you're obviously as a master. So just quickly, Claudio, you've been a teacher in more recent years, and a conductor and a composer. But can we go back to your early life again? When did it first come about that you got interested or introduced to the area of music as a possible sort of trajectory and career for you?
Yeah, it was when I was very young, in school, and I had a good inclination towards music when I was in school. So the music teacher, when I was very young at the primary school, strongly recommend my parents to make me study music, because there was an inclination in the music, and that is what happened. Then I studied piano at the age of, it was 7, 8. And then I never stopped since then. Since then, I never stopped. Yes.
And did you have an immediate talent then, Claudio? Is that what you're saying? Did it come easily to you to begin with?
I'm not very good at praising myself, so I'm rather reluctant to say that I'm talented. What I can say is that this is what I tell my students. Talent is something that you don't learn anywhere, and there is no teacher that can teach talent. Talent can either be there or not. And the good teacher is the one who's able to recognize the talent and bring it out, and make it fly. So to respond to your question, music came easy to me. But yes, music came easily to me, and it was a sort of natural journey from moving on from piano to composition and conducting.
Okay, okay. It's very good of you to be modest, but actually, this is less about. I'm not trying to put you on the spot and make you say, "Oh, I was always great," because you know we can. There's all parts of all of our lives where we have certain talents or predilections towards things. What I'm trying to get at is some people will look at the piano and they see a set of keys and it means nothing to them really, and even when they start playing with it, it still doesn't register anywhere with them. They might like the sound, but it doesn't make sense to them. I'm interested, really intrigued, as someone like you, when you started to play, did something click? Was it almost like a genetic thing or something more fantastic than that? What sort of happened when you start to play? Did it all just make sense quite quickly, Claudio?
Yeah, it all make very sense rather quickly. Now, whether it's the universe or I have to work hard anyway, you know. Talent,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Doesn't go on a single track. You have to keep working hard and practicing every day. And I used to practice scales and pitching the pieces every single day. So I was not just living on my talent.
Well, actually, Claudio, there's a point at which that might be harder because I imagine talented people start off and it comes easy, and there always comes to a point where the talent can't carry you through, and you have to make that decision. Oh, now I need to actually work at this. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just as difficult for the talented people in some respects as well.
Yeah, I mean, I had to work hard. And I'm still working hard. I mean, I still do concerts now, and I have to study my scores. You know, music doesn't come from heaven to me. I have to sit on the table and learn the scores, which is the most wonderful part of the process. You know, the learning, the dipping into the composer's message, and this is what makes this job incredible because you know music is in the air. I mean, when I look at the score, there are just notes there. There is no message written or anything, and our job as a conductor or performers is to try to understand the message behind the music and then communicate that message to the audience. You know, and this comes through studies because you need to know what the composer is, what's happening at the time when he was composing that particular piece of music, what happened before, what's going on in the art, in politics, in history, in everything. So, you know, it is true that music is communication. And then it's important to understand the message and to understand the message, to understand the context.
That's when that thing of being an interpreter. So you're actually taking, I mean, that's a rather magical thing to talk about taking something that took place in history with a certain amount of elements surrounding it, as you say, and then to be able to pull what you feel are the important lessons and pieces from that and produce that in that magical way again, which is music itself. Amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is a special moment of the process. You know, when you sit in front of the score for the first time, you just have in front of you that masterpiece that is the result of a really genius mind. Because I have full respect of all these composers, you know, who have composed. I'm a composer myself,
Of course.
and I wouldn't dare to even put myself closer to these composers. Because when you
That's just because you're modest, though, Claudio.
no, because I'm honest.
Could I ask something, Claudio, about you could say we started very similar in that I got sent to piano lessons as a young lad, but actually I hated it. So that's where our paths split. But I've always enjoyed music. That's always been within me. Now, for me,
This is just a very interesting question because I never asked myself this question. I think it comes naturally. When you do, it's inside. It's something that is inside, and you feel it, and then it just needs to come out. And as a musician, it's the way we communicate is through music. If I was a politician, I would do a speech. If I was a poet, I would write a poem. If I was an artist, I would draw a painting. As a musician, the way we want to say something is to write the music. And I think it was, and I don't compose all the time. And when composing happen in very specific moments in my life. But when it happened, I feel it strongly. And the moment it comes, I need to write it down. I need to compose because it's something that I need to into music. It's like when you have something in mind and then you put it in practice. An architect that has image in mind of a building, and then the moment you put it on paper, you see the realization of your idea. For me, it's exactly the same. I have something in mind, but until it's on the paper, it still remains in the air. When it's in the paper, then I can see my message going through. Yeah.
Claudio, I like to write and, many other things. And actually, you and I, and hopefully that will come to fruition soon. We have even teamed up. So I've added my words to some of your wonderful music, which we hope to bring out to the wider world. But just coming back to that thing of writing and composing and drawing and all these different things, do you feel you're tuning in to sort of something else, the universe, your higher self, whatever you want to call them? Or do you feel this is very much a mind thing that you're bringing out, or a heart thing? Where do you feel that your compositions and your creative aspect is flowing from?
Yeah, I think it's more connected with my inner spirit. When I compose, as much as I try to, I've studied composition, which is, there are many rules in composition.
Yeah.
I can imagine. But when I compose, I take care of the technical aspect of the composition, but I follow more what my spirit is telling me. And sometimes it happened to me that I had to ignore some of the technical aspect of composition because I needed to prioritize my feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
How does it go with defining classical? I like a few antiques and things, and obviously there's it has to be 100 years old to be sort of classed as an antique. Now, classical music, is it based on an era, or is it just literally if you compose music based with a traditional orchestra? If I did that today, and I wrote some music using an orchestra, that would be classical music. So is it more the instruments used, or is it a period?
It can be both because classic music was a precise moment in the history, which is the Enlightenment, which is called classic era, and this is around the 1700, 18th century. It goes, old Mozart, Haydn, Beethoven. These are considered classic composers because they composed during the classic era. But classic music also means a much wider range of music that goes from Renaissance, Strina, up to something if we can call it a modern era. Sometimes you hear people saying, "I'm going to hear it's a classic concert." What are you going to hear? I'm going to hear Chopin. Chopin was a romantic composer because he lived during the 19th century. So he was a romantic composer, but his music is considered the style. It's not classic, but in the common world, when you hear an orchestra, a symphony orchestra playing, or one of these giants of music, you call it classic music. But we have to differentiate that classic music not necessarily mean classic period. I hope it makes sense what I'm saying.
No, it absolutely did. Just going back to your training, Claudio, for those like myself who don't really understand that timeline, what does that take to become a sort of classical musician or composer? Are we talking about really from the ages of sort of 11 through to 28, 30? Is that a massive expanse of time? Or is that the traditional route, or can it be actually condensed into a shorter period? What generally is the training period for a classical musician?
A whole life.
Fair enough.
Whole life. You never learn. It's a job that you never learn to discover and to learn. I mean, I think the day that I will reach, the moment that I will reach, that I would say, I think I've learned everything. That in that moment I will stop this. I will stop being a musician because I don't think that moment will ever come. You learn the technical aspects when you're young, when you study the conservatoire, the academy. You refine yourself, but the journey of discovery, it's a never-ending journey.
Yeah, I mean, coming back to the martial arts guys that we've had on, and even Gary and my journey in that sort of area, certainly in the less traditional, the more internal martial arts stuff, there is this saying that it's a never-ending well. Basically, you could draw water from that well forever. You will never get all the water out because that journey is a journey that never ends. I mean, almost something that might be repeated in further lifetime. But just in terms of that thing about if you wanted to go into the classical music training arena, is that 10 years within further education? How does it actually work? Yeah.
I would say if you work very hard, or students who work very hard, 10 years gives you a good starting point for them to benefit. But 10 years is very much needed.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
And for anybody who's watching this anywhere in the world, because this will go out into the States, North America generally, all across the world, for anybody who has that passion or that feeling for going for this, would you encourage them? Firstly, would you put them off? Has it been an incredible as well as a beautiful thing? Is it also a burden for you? How would you present it to other people who might be considering a life in the musical arts?
I mean, if you want to have a happy life, this is the best life for them. I wake up every morning and I'm happy because I have this element, the musical element inside. You don't need to be successful or anything, but when you have it inside, it can only be good. You can only do something good inside. It's difficult to explain. And sometimes there aren't words to explain this feeling. But it's magical. I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of days ago. She was telling me that sometimes she has to do some extreme sports to feel the adrenaline. And then she was telling me about everything she does. She climbs mountains, she does punch, jumping, and other extreme sports. And I was smiling because I feel exactly the same when I perform. So I don't need to climb or jump over a bridge. You know, I feel exactly the same when I'm on stage. It's difficult to describe in words. You know, you have to feel it.
Yeah, I mean, I've only ever felt being around you that you love what you do. And that's why one of the reasons I wanted you to come on, because so many people end up in jobs or pathways that don't allow them to follow their heart joy. But you're actually somebody I know who has ended up following. And it's really important to get out that message of hope, of happiness, of maybe bliss at points and so on. Because so many people seem to be trapped by their own limitations. It doesn't have to be music, of course, Claudio, but anything where somebody gets up each day and is happy to be doing their job, that seems to be a big deal to me.
I agree, but I haven't chosen this job. I mean, this art has chosen me. I haven't chosen that. There was never a moment in life when I said I want to become a musician. It just happened.
Yeah. Yeah. It was your destiny.
Yeah. I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here and bring things up to date in the sense of I'd like your opinion on how AI is developing we see it a lot with photography and movies. There's a lot in music as well now. It's allowing people, giving them new tools to experiment with. So I'm wondering how you feel about that, because I saw some really interesting stuff for me, because sometimes if I hear let's say I hear a symphony in my head, but as I discussed earlier, I don't have the physical skills to bring that out. I have like that feeling, inside, that there's a disconnect. But I saw some AI tools where I could literally say, I want the violins to go chip, 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 and voice it, and then it would create it layer by layer. I'm not sure about that type of express themselves potentially.
Yeah, I think we should never neglect or ignore the progress that is going on. You know, imagine if Mozart was alive today, with all the technology that we have, the instruments that we have now, he would be an amazing composer. But I don't think that AI would ever substitute his creative process. So, as an artist, I think all artists would never replace, it would never let technology to replace the creative moment. So AI and all the technology tools that we have today, they are good to enable us to speed up the process or to share what we do with a wider world, you know? But the moment we let technology to take over from our art, then that's not art anymore.
Yes, I somewhat agree that I was watching a video the other night where it was a guy was singing not very well, but then it allowed him to change his voice, and I don't think it will ever replace a true singer. But in terms of getting your ideas out, it was quite nice, and it allows more people access. We might have to try this with Casper, because I know he wants to have a go at singing, and he might need a little AI assistance in this. So that can help, even if you just then use that as a tool to then give to somebody else and say, look, it's something like this. But for me, I feel it's great that more people can get involved and get the ideas out of them, because there's a lot of passion towards art as well. They can see visions, but they can't always bring it out themselves. Yeah, hopefully this stuff will help. But I do agree that you still need to be the content creator behind that, because an assistant is quite nice.
Yes.
Gary, where are we on time?
We are now not few minutes or so.
Okay, Claudio, I just want to say, obviously, thank you very much for joining us. And I want to say to our audience, we're sorry that obviously there's some background noise here. I'm just so happy that Claudio could join, so we've overlooked that. But yeah, just to apologise for that being the case. So glad you could be with us, Claudio. The other thing I wanted to say is, as somebody who's relocated from Italy to the UK and has had a wonderful time here, wonderful friendships and a great working life as well. Isn't it wonderful that we can move around and do those sort of things? So I'm just very fortunate that you chose to come here or were guided here, Claudio. And I hope you'll come back and join us and talk again, because I think you've got immeasurable amounts of things to share, both from your heart and soul and also from all the learning. So just thank you very much, Claudio.
I must thank you, Caspar and Gary, for having me here. It's nice to share these things. It doesn't happen often that you are asked some very good questions that makes you go deep inside to find the answer. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, pleasure. Hope to see you again shortly. And meantime, obviously, we wish you the very best, Claudio.
Likewise. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Put some information in the description, some links to your music and things, because we can listen to that on. I mean, I have on Spotify and stuff, so it'd be great for people to actually hear some of the stuff you composed as well.
Yeah, a very good point, Gary. We'll put links. Anything you want us to add, Claudio, we'd love to bring your music and you to a wider and more varied audience. So that would be lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.
Ciao.